In order to get anything to happen, you have to take a certain amount of risk, and you have to sort of go into an area where you're not sure you're going to be able to pull it off.
George is always known as an innovator. Here we go again. He's doing something new. He's doing something different.
It certainly is it's a risk. It's a risky idea.
The quality of an image that's captured on a digital camera does not stand up against the same image that would be captured on a piece of motion picture film.
When you're shooting a film, it's like doing beautiful art, traditional art. Video today is still modern art, not even good modern art yet.
There is a lot of controversy about the fact that we're shooting this digitally. As far as I'm concerned, they should have been shooting digital cinema 20 years ago. People say, why am I doing it? The real question is, why not?
Well, the very first time that George ever discussed his concept of a digital future for the cinema and television was in 1989. And I'm even amazed now how precise that vision actually was about what he wanted to achieve. First of all, there was a series, Young Indiana Jones. He wanted to make that a test bed for digital effects.
On the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, which was shot on 16mm, by the way, George was already tampering with digital additions, digital extensions, and replication. That series was really the test of digital technology.
George wanted to fold the technology that we had developed on Young Indy and try and do the same thing in a feature film called Radioland Murders.
He was curious to see if it was possible to do the same thing on 35mm and project it onto a big screen.
No one had a problem in terms of effects. In fact, they're imperceptible. Even though the film wasn't successful, that part of the process was incredibly successful for us.
So George had the confidence to use that same technology in The Phantom Menace.
Let's go.
And then we've gone one stage further in episode 2, actually shooting on digital.
For the kind of films that George makes, the kind of films that we make, we are ostensibly in the digital arena from the first day that we actually start working. Most people will fail to realize this, but basically what happens is every single frame, every single shot in the movie has a digital effect.
Pretty much every set has blue screen, even if it's just out a window or something.
It's everywhere. I think I've been on one set where there hasn't been any blue screen.
So for us to shoot in film and then scan it into a computer is a ridiculous process. Right now we can shoot in high def, and 50 minutes after we shoot a 50-minute cassette, it's inside the computer.
Well, yes, this is the day shooting. There's no more laboratory. It's now on tape. Sound and picture on the same recording device. Sunk automatically for us to put in on the computers. It's all on this one thing.
What's the camera? What's the camera? What's the camera? What's the camera?
We wanted to shoot the last film this way, and had been working with Sony for several years to try to make it happen, and just couldn't get the cameras built fast enough.
There were certain inherent basic issues. Video is shot at 30 frames per second, film is shot at 24 frames per second, and that was a major holdback for us.
The biggest difference with these cameras is that they were developed to provide a 24 frame per second frame rate, which is exactly the rate that we've been using for production photography and film.
So it means that when they scan it onto film, you have one video frame to every film frame.
The next big problem that we had was, of course, not just the camera, but the lenses. The lenses that come with the camera were not acceptable to acquire this widescreen format that we shoot. So the only place I could go to then was Panavision.
Yeah, the computer design lenses, focusing on a very small target.
The actual chips that are in the camera are smaller than a 35mm film image. That meant the performance of the lens actually had to be better than a 35mm lens, since you were using a smaller area to image the entire high-resolution frame on.
The depth of field, the clarity, the sharpness of the image, the brightness was something that still just knocked us off our feet.
There's never any doubt about whether or not you can see something in the background, or you will see something in the background. It's exactly how it's going to be on the big screen.
The cameraman, the prop department, wardrobe, hair, myself, everybody gets to see the dailies, everybody gets to see if anything's wrong, and they get to fix it by the next take. Whereas normally you wait until the next day and then you have to go back and reshoot it.
The mobility of the film camera is still better than digital. I could move the reflex, move all of the work, go all over the mountains with any temperature and shoot.
We spent years in the film industry trying to get the camera free. Now suddenly we're tied to cables again.
On this show, we've got to plug 7 cables into the camera. An HD, a time code, a gen lock, 2 audios, and data.
The camera, to be honest, does feel a bit cumbersome. It's pretty long, it's unwieldy. But already, even since we started, they've made a new zoom lens. It's half the size, half the weight. And next year, the camera's going to be half the size.
I am sure it will improve eventually. It's digital is work in progress.
Breathing down the neck of the film camera.
It doesn't mean that technology is going to make the film any better. That has nothing to do with art.
Technology is used to tell a story, and that's the whole point. It's really the filmmaker and the storyteller and how well they're able to tell the story that counts in the end. The techniques they use are really a byproduct of that.
Thanks, folks. First up in the morning, the other pod will come in. We'll take the grey pod out tonight. And we'll start with scene 5. So that's a wrap.